gradually, then suddenly. The famous words written by Ernest Hemingway, they beautifully apply to Cardano. What I think sits well with me when it comes to Cardano is that whole concept, slow moving at first and then boom. It applies to the charts, as history has already shown us on this YouTube channel, but it also applies to the actual blockchain, the actual protocol, gradually, then suddenly. And we're watching that story unfold on both the charts and Cardano blockchain. And I want to talk about that in this video. So we're going to look at price. We're going to look at targets in the shorter term. We're going to talk about the longer term story of what's going on. We're tracking this. We've been tracking it. And we are, in my opinion, this is just how I see it, we are getting very close to, I think, something really cool. So before we do that, before we look at those charts, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe. But I want to just go over this real quick. This is Cardano Thor tweeting a little bit earlier. He said, Cardano is the turtle that will slowly win the race. And it's just another way to say gradually, then suddenly. 30-day DeFi numbers, total TVL, total value locked, 369 million ADA, up 31%. So 2 points with that. Broke into the top 20, number 19 right now, and second fastest DeFi growth in the top 20. So let's just go look at this real quick. This is Cardano TVL. Check this out. Check this growth chart out. What's fascinating about this, and we did this probably a few weeks ago, we looked at this, but we also compared it to other chains, and we do not see other chains breaking its own all-time highs, right? That's not something that we saw. So that's one thing. We see Cardano ecosystem growing right now, and this is in a very kind of, at least in recent months, a very boring and painful market. This is what's happening. Now, obviously, in the last few days, crypto picking up a little bit, right? Picking up some steam, but this is a really important picture. But I think what's even more powerful about it is just the second point to it, breaking into the top 20, because whether, you know, and you know me, I'm not like, oh, our chain is better than your chain. I don't like any of that. That frustrates me. And that's not why I compare. But what I think is useful in comparing data and comparing something like Cardano to other blockchains that are also striving and growing and building is it's just the most simple data point to reflect if there's actual progress, right? So we've been tracking Cardano. Cardano, I don't remember where it was most recently, pretty far down there, but we see it working its way up gradually. And that is exactly the point. It's gradually and then suddenly. Oftentimes we say Cardano is really going to be a huge player, and I think it already is. It's one of the most popular blue chips in crypto. But in terms of usage and utility and people coming on board and TVL, I think it's going to be a really big part of this pie chart. And you can see Ethereum right now around 60% of the pie chart. Cardano not even on here. I think Cardano is going to get a nice slice, and it's on its way. So you can see Cardano sitting at number 19. And it looks like 24% in the last 7 days compared to, there's a 39% here. This looks like Kava in the last, or I'm sorry, not 7 days, but last month. And so it does look like Cardano last month, second in growth. So this is big for Cardano as we do watch the growth of Cardano on the charts. And this is what it looks like on the zoomed out. Before I start really kind of getting into technical analysis of it all, I wanted to start on the zoomed out just to make a point, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are just like, Dan, Cardano doesn't do anything. Cardano doesn't move. I had somebody on Twitter the other day and they were like, I bought ADA 3 years ago and it's done nothing. And I replied, I was like, 3 years ago, ADA was at like 3 cents and it went to $3. That's 10,000% gains. So I think a lot of people that are saying that are kind of, I think they're just trying to make a point that at times Cardano does kind of just, it kind of seemingly does nothing. But it's just what it does. I've been covering Cardano for years on the YouTube channel, but it's the bigger picture that I think motivates me. It's the bigger picture that I keep my eyes on. It's the gradually and then suddenly picture. And I just want to sum that up real quick in a real quick history lesson, a data point. Out of COVID, you can see ADA just flew 800%. But there were a couple things happening besides just the bounce out of March 2020. There was Shelly coming up, right? So it was a big event for Cardano. And not only that, it was November 2020. It was the bull market getting ready to start. So 700, almost 800% gains right there. And it came out of nowhere. And it came out after ADA was just brutal, probably pronounced completely just done for, right? After that bear market. And then even just not performing anything special compared to bouncing out of the bear market and just falling back. This was the first time ADA it outperformed. And you can just see, if we look at the Bitcoin chart at that time, Bitcoin was up around 200% from that March 2020 swing low. So 200%, and then ADA out of nowhere, 800%. This is what I think will happen again. And it's not only just that bounce out of March 2020, it was the entirety of when the bull market really started in November 2020. ADA outperformed a lot, most of crypto, I would say. And I think that's what's going to happen again. So kind of just underperforming, just, oh man, what's going on back here in the bear market and the pivot from bear to bull, and then absolute explosion amidst the building of the protocol itself and at key points, right? Staking mechanism, multi-asset ledger. We have Alonzo. We have Vaso with scalability. So remember, Alonzo, smart contracts. So all of that came into play. Now it's all here. TVL is growing, and we're going to get ready for that next bull market, right? And ADA just once again setting the foundation. If you're an ADA holder like me, it's patience is kind of the name of the game. And I really think patience will pay off. And that's just me. This is just my opinion on the charts. I could be wrong at the end of the day. Maybe it's all done and ADA will never outperform again. But this is just the way that I see things. I wanted to just put some context there in terms of ADA. But now here we are in the zoomed in. We're going to start doing some TA. I want to talk about upside and I want to talk about downside. I want to talk about both because it's all just forming before our eyes as we've been tracking it. So first things first, above the 20-week moving average in green. This is a big deal, but ADA looking kind of ugly on some key charts. Number one is actually the weekly chart. We got above that 20-week. We want to maintain above that 20-week moving average. And we can't always get what we want. We really can't. And this weekly wick right now on ADA is kind of concerning, but we can look in a minute to see how that can turn around. But it's really just getting too close to the 20-week moving average. And there is still, important to note, 5 days left of this weekly candle. Anything can happen. But we're going to track what will play into that weekly candle right here. And this is where it is, everybody. So let me start by just talking about upside first. And then we're going to talk about downside. First things first, when it comes to upside, it's the same grueling resistance ADA has not broken through. We've seen Bitcoin kind of making some moves lately, right? ADA has not done that yet in terms of just kind of shining for a second. Now, what it needs to do that is really the swing high back here to swing low. And it really is up to this Fibonacci retracement. I have it squared off right here or as a rectangle. That's a Fibonacci retracement. It didn't break through that area. It's a lower high area. It's from a Fibonacci standpoint, it's the reversal area we really want to see on the macro. The big deal for me is the weekly. It was broken. That's a huge reversal indicator for me, meaning the pivot from bear to bull. But it really is from a Fibonacci retracement perspective. We want to see higher highs now, right? And it just hasn't happened yet from this swing high back here. We want to see a swing high, a higher high. So that hasn't happened yet. That's that first immediate area. But look at the resistance even after it fell off of that area, right? So kind of bounced off that area down, bounce back up, and look at the resistance right now. This is a Fibonacci lower high resistance. Now, the concerning thing is the moving averages. Right now, the 20-day is right where ADA is. The 200 is above ADA with that crazy daily wick at the 200 and the 50 because it's a very confluent area of resistance. It's around 36, 37 cents. So the only thing that I really am watching right now, if markets continue to the upside in any meaningful way, what is ADA doing right there? And to the upside, we're looking at a price range of around 6-7%. It's not that crazy. If ADA can break above those moving averages, and if ADA can get through this lower high Fibonacci retracement, ADA could be primed for that time to shine, that special moment where you see Cardano in the headlines this time. We often see coins just taking breaks and other coins getting the headlines, right? They're just moving and you're just like, hey, why is ADA not doing anything? Come on. ADA will have its time. It happens time and time again in cycles. So for ADA to have that time, it's going to require breaking above this Fibonacci, the 40-cent area just above there. And then if we really start looking at if there was a breakout, right? There's two things happening. We have this crazy falling wedge, Bitcoin, ADA broke out of, right? And we have a target to the upside around 55 cents or so. It's still in play. All of this, we're going to talk about in a minute, normal, right? So it's normal even on its way to a 55-cent target. It's not just going to be like target done, right? Straight up to the target. We rarely ever see something like that, especially on a very big pattern like this. But the other thing is this. If we just look at what's potentially happening right now, again, a lot of patience is needed because this is starting back in October. But look at this setup. I mean, it doesn't even matter how you chart it. You can just look at it and not chart it. It's just a left shoulder, this kind of capitulation ahead, back to a neckline area, and then a right shoulder's in play right now. As it's testing resistance, it could fail, right? And we could just go lower, but it could be the setup for a right shoulder and then the breakout to the upside. I mean, is just the breakout to the upside on that is 60 cents plus out of that inverse head and shoulders. So there's very bullish targets to the upside for ADA. The time to shine is in reach, but it's just this massive resistance ADA has to get to. And I'm not watching anything other than that resistance in the short term. I'm not even really paying too much attention to the amazing bullish targets to the upside until ADA can actually show up and the bulls can show up and break this resistance area. Again, the resistance is like 39.40 cents down to around 36.37 cents. Huge resistance for ADA, but that's what I'll be watching. Now to the downside, let's actually take this clip, and this is actually from a month ago. Just look at this real quick. As often, we get a breakout to the upside, we get throwbacks to test the apex of the wedge, to test the trend lines of the wedge. And that area down here is like 25 to 30 cents down here, right? It's never fun, the journey, right, to bullish things. It's never the most fun or just straight path, right? There's always some hurdles in the way, and such is life. But this is what we're looking at. It's just your classical breakout of the target, and you're getting a throwback, right? So right now, when we're looking at the throwback, there's two things to keep in mind for throwback. And now we're kind of in the downside area of this video. Swing low to the swing high, that crazy resistance. And look at ADA just right now bouncing off of a higher low Fibonacci. This could end up being extremely bullish, but we have to monitor that support. So higher low Fibonacci right down to around 27 cents. The 618 up here around 31 cents. So there's the support. ADA bouncing off of right now and bouncing right into the resistance of these moving averages and all of this resistance that we just looked at. So ADA is in a really tight spot. It's going to be very interesting to see what markets continue to do and how ADA kind of piggybacks on the markets, on sentiment. What is the stock market doing? What's US dollar currency index doing? What are the headlines doing? What's the Fed doing, right? ADA is in a really weird spot, and we have to be very, very aware of that because there's room for continued downside. Markets were nice for the last few days or so, but if things start falling and ADA's in this new downtrend, this is what we're watching for. We'll continue monitoring support down to the 27, 28 cent area at the lower end of the Fibonacci. But once again, that target that we just looked at in that video from a month ago, it's there. It's the trend lines of the falling wedge. They're just in play, right? So it's just the throwback type of scenario that we see very often in crypto out of these patterns. It's in the 25 cent range right now. And even if it happened, we'd be testing previous lows. Could we be on this macro chart if things go bearish, ADA is actually testing the low again and we're putting in a double bottom, and that's the kind of the new narrative for Cardano's bottom? It could be, maybe. But this is why we track these things. We know every scenario. We're mentally just prepared for them. We're sitting back. But for me, these are the scenarios. But I can sit back and evaluate my portfolio and say, you know what? This is the chart that matters. And also collect data and say, you know what? We've seen ADA just kind of in a similar vibe. And it just took patience last time. It's probably going to take patience this time. But then we also say, you know what? Cardano's primed. Cardano is outperforming at a protocol level, at just this foundational level that will create such a strong platform for growth for the Cardano ecosystem. And that I think is going to translate to ADA price as well. Again, this is just how I see the charts. This is how I see things playing out. It's just my opinion. That's all it is. And I hope that many of you are picking up what I'm putting down. And either way, if you're still here, everybody, I appreciate you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.